Last time on whatever this is, I paid $395 for this perfect condition 2004 Chevy Aveo. Obviously, it is more than rough. It's pretty much destroyed. But since that time, I have gone through the whole car and cleaned it out, and it's actually still disgusting. But there's less actual junk in there now. But I did wire the starter to a switch, and I'm about to test that out to see if it works. I found a battery for a Miata in my junk pile of batteries. And I also cleaned all the dirt out of the sidewall of that right front tire and filled it with super glue. So as you might imagine, that's now holding air. But it's now test drive time. This is really the first time I've ever driven this thing other than around the yard. That was fun. I made it about maybe half a mile, and I think I ran out of gas. Well, that's what I'm hoping is the problem, because it just died. And conveniently enough, it's just starting to rain, which pairs nicely with my open sunroof.
It ain't got no gas in it.
Fresh gas. Oh, so gotta plug in my ignition. Yeah. Just need a jump start, otherwise it's in. Oh, and gas, it was out of that.
That was sick!
Use my wiper, but I don't have wipers or a roof. So, that test drive answers 3 questions for me. First, does the tire hold air with super glue? Yes, it does. Second question of, does the fuel gauge work? Apparently, yes, it does, because it was telling me it was out of gas, and I thought, there's no way the fuel gauge on this actually works. Turns out it does. And third question, is this exhaust tolerable for what I have planned with it? And the answer is a resounding and echoing no. But the first thing on my list of things to do is to address the roof situation. I have the missing roof panel right here, but someone put some artwork on there that I prefer not to have above my head, and it's also not exactly flat anymore. And next up, the front end of this car is just really nasty, so I'm gonna see what I can do about that. Look at that, it bolts right in. Looks just like factory. What a perfect fit. Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. My fantastic technique of screwing my roof in with license plates with self-tapper screws leaves me with a bit of an issue, and that's the other end of the screw is pointed straight down into my head. Nothing an angle grinder can't fix though. So that's the roof done. It looks pretty much factory. You barely can tell that it's held on with duct tape and license plates. Once I spray paint that black, so it'll be virtually indistinguishable from factory, I have a massive spoiler to go on it, because that's what this needs. Bring it back from the pristine roof. I'm now back in the engine bay. Things that it needs, obviously the exhaust to be looked at, and the intake is just going through the hood. So I'm going to enclose this a little bit so it actually gets air through the filter. And I figured out why the power steering doesn't work. There's no fluid. Even though that looks terrible, that should do the trick and actually make the air go through a filter instead of just straight through the open hole in the hood. But I've now got the race car lifted up and I am actually going to do an oil change. Not because I care or intend to drive it far enough to make use of that, but because I want to get an idea of the health of the engine. Here's the oil, and it's not looking fantastic. There's a little bit of metal in there, a little bit of shimmering, but I think it should be good for a few more trips to rev limiter and back. For some reason, there was a butter knife under the engine cover. Not exactly sure why that's there or what purpose it served. To address the radiator fan situation, I have haphazardly installed a radiator fan from a 19-something Mazda Miata. And now I'm going to professionally install the wiring. And by that I mean I'm just going to drill a hole in the bumper or some other similar location and wire a switch to it. I might even put a fuse in it. That's how dedicated I am to safety. Perfect. Next on the list is a left front lug studs, because only 2 of them have any threads left. Next is the wiper situation. The passenger one is of course missing and the driver's side one is broken off. I'm going to see what I can do about that. I stole the wiper off my Honda and then I found out the wipers on this don't actually work, so I'm going to take it back off. In the interest of not being stranded on a mountain somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I'm even going so far as to replace the serpentine belt, because the old one is actively falling apart. Much better. And with that, it's once again time to address cosmetics, because I don't have a muffler yet for it. So obviously this thing is beyond rough, but I'm going to paint it a fresh coat of Raucan black and then start fresh from there. So clean. And now let's see how well the roof kept out the water. Not well. Not well at all. So clearly the license plates and duct tape did not keep out the water, but I'm going to give this a try. This is the hood of my motorcycle swapped Honda CRX. I ripped it off. It's like a really thick tarp material and I just use a whole lot of self-tappers. And now that some of the grime is cleared off, it's time for some very gentle and delicate bodywork. And now it really almost looks indistinguishable from factory paint. So now that it's looking absolutely stunning with its fresh coat of paint, it's time for the topper. A big old spoiler that came on a smart car out of a motorhome. Boom. It's really the icing on the cake of this terrible, terrible vehicle. But it is actually looking better, and that's not to say that it looks good, it's to say that it looked absolutely horrendous when I got it. It still looks horrendous, but it's not as horrendous. But it will be perfect for what I have planned. Especially with the addition of a muffler. Now I know what you're thinking, this just looks perfectly factory, right? This is actually a muffler from a Suzuki Swift that I just welded on there. And it makes the car so much better. It still sounds absolutely terrible, but it's less volume now, which is what I'm going for. And with that, this thing actually runs and drives pretty good now. So here are some clips of it running into other things. You got a little room. A little more. Perfect. Limiter.